Time for me to flex. Y'all know this my thing. It's your boy Ben and I, and it's time for the first lore-centric community spotlight. I'm about to share with you the first thing I read after perusing the old website and making a beeline for the lore section. It was what hooked me immediately, and as I look back, part of it has become my story. As one of the keepers of lore outside of the game. Keepers ain't in-game yet, but that hasn't stopped me. Listen to this excerpt entitled, On Keeping. This is not meant to be a memoir, yet I must share some things about myself. A few friends of merit have noted that I am in fact reaching the evening of life, and despite the incidental rudeness, I consider prudent their advice to compose a trove of missives, directing the well-inclined on how to account for this, my humble vault of the history of Terminus, and a few things beyond. I have always begrudged the names draped over this office, for I consider myself not of repute, renown, or even regard. I was never meant to wear armor, and I was never meant to hold a title. Yet I have stood accused as a thief, blasphemer, usurper, and general malfeasant in several courts and one tribunal, though in most cases I was fortunately acquitted and in one rescued. More than once I have been approached by unprincipled men with offers to elevate my status by simply recording events more or less favorably. To wit, Festus of Hybrace is a fraud. At least in this day and years past I esteemed him a companion in the archival devotion and a friend outside of it. Sadly, like too many, he has heard the clink of gold preferable to the rustle of pages and spins his myths for a deplorable profit. I say this only to bid the reader warning if he or she should seek to combine our respective collections, and also to shame him. To this end, I hardly allow myself to take any patronage, for I am a normal man and fear even genuine kindness could unduly lighten the weight of truth, dulling my discernment. My life has oft been under threat, more so by nobility and less often by pilferers, yet I cannot permit misdeed affect my labor any more than generosity. Setback is a ritual that attends true discovery, it seems. I've had 2 shops burned to the stones in the ground. 4 chests stolen, though one was entirely filled with dung-rubbed rocks and another rigged with an ingenious trap of inflammatory sapwood and pitch. At considerable price, with considerable result. I have been hexed, cursed, haunted, hunted, whipped, expelled, excommunicated, imprisoned, and briefly enslaved. Yet Terminus has always granted I linger in her company, and it is my fervent belief that some sovereign presence desires the guarding of all these precious things. Indeed, I believe myself preserved for this purpose. So what is my name, or rather, who am I? A fond, departed friend once called me a loomer of legends, which is bright, but quite unrepeatable. The loomer rings like false gold, which is the worst kind. And though there are many hails from the array of tribes, clans, kingdoms, and so forth, which I gladly reply, none so fit the role as much the man. And that is why I meekly take the office of keeper. Though just as quickly pray it endures beyond my keeping. For when I am finally deposited amongst the dead, this world will still require remembering. And thus I write it all down and supplicate that one may send another companion to unquiet my study. One who is truly lit with the same zeal, inclined to sacrifice in favor of the most necessary stewardship. Yet such persons are rarer than any precious stone, rune, or spell. Thus, until I die, the Keeper. This is how Terminus introduced itself to me, a world that was part game, as even the real world can be. It begged to uncover mysteries that in any other game would have just been a curiosity told by an idiot, full of sound and VFX, signifying nothing. But in Terminus, it may be the curiosity that leads to unlocking the potential of the entire world, as has been hinted by Joppa. The current predicament we find ourselves in is a lack of meaningful lore within the game, though it is being worked, and a lack of access to lore outside the game, though it too is being rectified soon. That leaves one of the pillars on which Pantheon is built to be wholly missing. Without it, this is a game, not a world. So to ease the suffering of those who long for the perception system and the keeper ability system, I want to share with you what new players and old forgetful types can do to satiate this desire. So we turn to the community. Those with login credentials to the official forums, that would be all those who pledged prior to EA. You can find an expanded collection of released and official lore being posted under the lore subforum here. It is already quite an exhaustive list, and it adds to what knowledge you can get from the race pages on the official website here. With just this, it should keep you busy for as much time as is necessary until we start seeing lore and lore systems populate in the world. But for those who have joined the Pantheon community since EA, hold tight. The lore subforum will be moved to publicly viewable very soon, at which point everyone can dig in. Until then, however, you do have some options. StaticGroup Live, of which you probably have never ever heard, has for many years tracked the lore releases and created videos where lore is read and discussed. You can find most of these in one easy playlist, obviously named Theric's Lore Library, and found here. There also is a collection of lore pieces that were read by Chris Kane, a professional voiceover actor who has been part of the community for years, and those can be found here. Tooting on my own personal horn, there are a few videos where I discuss lore drops and game additions and their connection with known lore. There are also videos that are lore adjacent, where I use the lore of the game to create new content or strange takes reading between the lines of the lore releases. This assemblage can be found here. I'm tired, y'all, but we gotta keep this thing going. You got to hold on. So, if you don't like nonfiction, how about learning about the lore of the game through story? Publicly available on the website is a subforum for fan fiction. This is more helpful than you may realize. There has been a plethora of good writers over the years that have taken the official text and created their stories around them. Some of them are not as careful as others, so if you have a question, you can DM me on Discord and ask. I think I've read all of them. But they are all helpful to an extent, and they cover a broad range of historical events and racial backdrops. Check them out if you got time. I am so bored that I have put many of my fanfiction tales on YouTube as audiobooks. The current one I am working on is a collaboration with many of the content creators in our community. Shout out to Desrin, Fate, Drac, Theric, Redbeard, Flynn, Chris Kane, Lotu, Sparrow, Tango Hotel, Marty, Christian, Mana Rohan, and more added all the time. You can find this collection at these locations. If you would like to be part of this project, I ain't paying you, so don't ask. But if you like working for free, hit me up with a DM and I'll definitely get you involved. I want to take a second to thank those that have helped the devs out by leaving feedback, questions, and hopes for the future on the Discord under the Quest and Lore. Livka and I are proposing all of these ideas to the devs with responses from them when we can. It has so far been a great system to see changes reflected in-game from your comments, so keep them coming. Special thanks to Rajaki, Dembe, Libwick, obviously, K Delta T, the math nerd apparently, Flourishing, Dobby, Majestic, Revulo, Burdop, Eratani, Raydil, Alex, Ruben, Maroon, Nina, Gyrus, Dracul, Dystopia 77, Dance with Terataya, Last Obelisk, and so many others. Y'all making the game good, bro. Now, I'm sorry for all those who don't care about the lore, because once everybody starts hitting these resources, you better hide your wife, hide your kids, and hide your husbands, because they luring everybody up in here.
So you can run and tell that, homeboy.